What is the best class to play in Legion Remix and how to make the right decisions? I've already made my decision. I'm gonna play Blood DK. It's all I play. But in actuality, I know you guys have been telling me try another class in Legion Remix. Oh, Sam, you should try something else in Legion Remix. First of all, I'm not gonna play as a Volpera again. You guys fucked me over the last remix by voting for that one. So we're gonna play something else. Actually, maybe play a Worgen because I couldn't play Volpera. But I don't know if I'll play another class. I don't know. But I'm sure some classes are easier than others. Let's see what Dalaran Gaming has to say about the best classes to play in Legion Remix.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. Legion Remix is fast approaching and actually arriving in a handful of weeks actually from today. And some players have already begun trying to ruminate and try to make the decision of which classes are going to be playing for this brand new content.
These videos are so pointless. Look, I mean, the whole thing is, yeah, maybe if you want to play something fun, maybe he's going to mention something that's like more easy to play than other. But the whole thing about a remix event is it's easy in and of itself. And the point of the remix event really is to level up any kind of class you've ever wanted to play previously. So maybe you've always wanted to have a shaman in your arsenal or a hunter or something. This is a good way to build up your alt arsenal. You quickly level them up faster than ever, and then at the end of the event, they're going to get transferred over to your retail account. That's how this whole thing works.
And quite a lot of you guys actually reached out to me asking me what is the best class to pick up for Legion Remix specifically. Technically, there isn't a wrong choice. You can play whatever you like, especially with the way that the AP weapons work. With enough effort, enough power, you can literally turn any class into a walking god, able to solo all of the content.
Right.
So even if you're someone who's not amazing at mythic raiding, eventually you could just literally stomp all over through it. However, a lot of players are still hit with that choice paralysis of what is the best class to play, where a lot of players at the end of the day really want a strong option when it comes to having the easiest time getting into endgame groups for those rewards from raid.
If I'm being honest, he's going to talk about endgame rewards. But if I'm being honest, if you have a set of DPS classes or whatever, I think the best thing that you could do with Legion Remix is make that one class that could be a tank. Right? Make a class that can be a tank and try tanking out. Or maybe make a class that could be a healer and try healing out. Or a class that could do both, like a paladin or something. Whatever it is, try that role that you haven't tried in the game before. I think that's a good way to use the remix event, for sure. Because right now, those roles are lacking big time. So if you want to try maybe a role that you haven't tried before, to see if you like healing or tanking in the game, if you do end up liking it, I'm telling you from experience, you get instant queues for everything. There are benefits to playing those two roles. Now, are they more difficult? Yeah, of course. Look at me. Look at this. I'm an engineered machine, ready to play this game at the highest level. Not everyone's, built this way, okay? But if you find out that you actually can handle it, there are a lot of benefits to playing as a tank or a healer in this game.
Raids and dungeons, or maybe classes that'll have the easiest time farming bronze if you just focused on getting as many collectibles as possible from this content, which is going to be limited in terms of its duration. Or maybe you're somebody who just wants to play the most broken classes for this experience. In today's video, I wanted to list off some of the different classes that I could easily recommend you if you are struggling with what you should be playing for Legion Remix in particular. As always, if you guys want to see more regular updates for any future content in the War Within, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. So if you're somebody who's trying to ruminate over the classes you'll be playing for Legion Remix, which is approaching oh so soon, with even more players hanging around on the PTR to test out, to figure out what they want to play, then my personal choice, in my opinion, is I think you really should consider playing a class that can tank and heal, especially if you're somebody.
Okay, wait. I can explain. You guys are all going to say I pre-watched this now. Look, I really didn't know he was going to say that, but it's just common sense. Like, a lot of people don't have a tanking or healing class in their arsenal. A lot of you guys, yeah, fuck. I just delete the video. I just stopped watching because now everyone's going to think I pre-watched it. Great. Okay. I didn't. If I did, don't you guys think if I pre-watched it that I wouldn't have said that because it would have led you to believe that I pre-watched it? I mean, come on. I'm smarter than that. But no, it's common sense, really. Like, try a tanking or healing. You haven't tried that role yet? Try it out.
Groups for endgame content within Legion Remix. I mean, eventually we'll be able to create a very powerful character, a godlike being that in any
show YouTube view history gladly. I
will be able to dominate the content, but you're not going to be able to do so immediately. So group play and group collaborative efforts in raids and dungeons are going to be necessary at first, and they'll still continue to hold value for a good bit of time until you can get to the point where you can solo all of the content, but that'll take some time. But classes that can play tanks and healers are always necessary when it comes to endgame content, and that is
Yeah.
why it's highly recommended. It's going to mean faster dungeon queues, whether it's normal, heroic dungeons for early leveling, or if you try to push some of those mythic dungeons for some of the achievements, some of the different transbugs, for some of the different rewards from Legion Remix. And you'll also be able to get much faster queues for level up raids as well, and raids are going to be a huge avenue for you to be able to collect bonus power for your artifact weapon, bonus bronze, as well as a ton of EXP early on. On top of it, if you play in a class that has a role as a tank, you will have a slightly easier time within the hard mode version of the open world content,
Sure.
specifically being the heroic world
Yeah.
tier, which is going to
That's
be
my goal. I said it before. I want to go Blood DK. You know, I play that right now in retail, but I still want to go Blood DK in Remix just to see how much I can pull. I want to see if I can legitimately get to a point where I'm so unkillable that I could just pull entire zones, go full god mode, and literally become untouchable.
quite challenging, especially early on when you don't have a lot of gear. And a
Pretty
lot of
much.
the enemies are going to be scaled up to be quite deadly, so playing a tanking spec allows you just to soften the blow of the damage you take just a little. You're not going to be killing mobs insanely quickly, but you will be doing it a lot safer, which means less deaths, which means a much overall safer experience when completing open world activities, especially if you're going after some of those unique open world rewards, such as one of the Sagere transmugs, the Void one in particular, which is going to be made available and will come from open world activities. Alternatively, I do think you should play at least a range class within Legion Remix, or at least a class that has access to spellcasting and rage casted
Yeah.
abilities, because in Legion Remix you'll be able to gain access to a trait fairly easily that is either Storm Surger or Brewing Storm. Now both of these effects have some damage components with it, but they also come with a nice little passive that says you may move while casting. And this isn't a trait that necessarily needs to be invested heavily into the actual tree within your artifact weapon. In fact, you can actually obtain it from some of these other bonuses within your ring slots, trinket slots, and even neck slots, and just getting yourself one piece of gear that has access to one of these different traits.
I thought about it.
Casting while moving.
I thought about playing a ranged for this thing, but I don't know. I thought about maybe even doing a mage again. That was like one of my OGs in the game. My first character I ever made was a hunter. My second character I ever made was a mage. And I played the mage through Burning Crusade all the way up to BFA. I played mage. And hunter, I played all of Classic, all of Vanilla WoW, up until maybe a month into Burning Crusade, I played hunter. So I thought about maybe going back to the roots and playing one of those. Could be fun. I think a ranged class could be a lot of fun, you know, just kiting shit around. Obviously, with a hunter, I mean, with a pet, it just makes everything so much easier, too. So, I mean, using a hunter, probably one of the easiest ways to play through Remix. If you're just there to get the items and stuff, probably a good way to play.
The reason why that is so incredibly strong for Legion Remix is many of the range caster classes, from mages, priests, warlocks, and even marksmanship hunters, are all designed to have limited movement while casting, where if you can stand still and hard cast abilities, this is where you're going to get the most damage out of your system, but if you are forced to move, your damage is obviously going to go down by a noticeable bit. However, with this trait, you're bypassing that limitation completely. Whether it's a healer or range DPS in general, you can cast while moving at all times, which is incredibly strong. So range classes in particular are looking to gain a significant amount of power early on in Legion Remix. So think of classes that could do a ton of damage, like priests and warlocks, to some degree maybe even evokers, that all have to play around, you know, mobility and lack of movement, and really plan the movement. You don't have to worry about it
You can't play as an evoker in Remix, I'm pretty sure. So that doesn't count, but yeah.
whatsoever. You can just put up the most amount of damage at all times, at any moment, without having to hold back your DPS whatsoever, which will make playing a lot of these powerful caster classes much stronger in Legion Remix. Now, another choice you can make when it comes to choosing a class for Legion Remix is picking the class that is the best at farming content. And some
Right.
classes have a massive advantage.
Yeah, I mean, really, the reason why I'm playing Remix is to farm. I'm not playing it for a new alt that I'm going to play in the next expansion. I'm not playing it to add to my alt army. I don't fucking have an alt army. I just play one character. But the reason why I want to play Legion Remix is to get the mounts and the transmog and everything else. So this part might be actually relevant to me.
When it comes to farming open world mobs, as well as dungeons, and just about everything the game has to offer. Bronze and infinite power will be two currencies that will be integral when it comes to
I bet you
obtaining that
Hunter's
as
great
much
for
as
farming.
possible, for powering up your character or buying up all of the different cosmetic rewards. And the open world content has a lot of different activities, especially when the heroic tier is turned on, where enemies drop a lot more bronze and a lot more infinite power. There's a pretty good chance the players, as we get into Legion Remix, will figure out a way for you to farm open world content.
The answer's always
with
Druid.
hyper-spawning
True.
mobs. This happens in every expansion. Hyper-spawning spots are very, very popular, as they were popular back in Mists of Pandaria Remix as well, where players can gain obscene amounts of power and bronze from a good farming spot. And certain classes can make those farming activities a lot more efficient. If you're looking for the best farming classes in particular, Druid is one of the best ones.
Yeah.
Balance in particular, with its ability to dot the world, but also have constant Starfall doing constant.
Yeah, not to mention just travel forms. Like so easily, you're just switching between things, flying around, doing your thing. Yeah, a lot of farmers do love their druids, for sure.
Weed damage. They're the best at burning
Try
down
to
mobs,
make another druid,
especially
yeah.
from a wide
And
range.
not only that, because these tunes carry over after the event is over, yeah, you could definitely, if you want a farming class in your retail game, this is your time to level up a druid.
Of area. So boomies are the best when it comes to just the raw damage output. Hunter's another class that's also fantastic for farming,
Hunter.
as they are the best class for pulling mobs and multi-dotting mobs and tagging mobs
Yep, that's
very,
what I
very
said.
rapidly, especially with their ability for multi-shot, which just cleave all mobs in a nearby area, ability to misdirect that aggro to a tank.
Man, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. If Blizzard was smart, they would pre-release the new class race combos. You're right. That would be a great thing for them to do. The problem is they won't make as much money then off the WoW store for people race changing to the new player class combos. So that's why they wouldn't do it. That's why they wouldn't do it, Hastitute. But I agree. That would be very nice of them to do. The thing is, when they release new player class, race class combinations, a lot of people pay to race change their classes. So, yeah, they're not going to do it.
That's doing maybe a big pull for all the mobs.
Of course, you already said it, Sam. You
so
pre-watched.
This is another class that is fantastic for farming. And another playstyle that is notoriously insane for farming mobs out in the open world is Brewmaster, especially when you drop down the Ox statue that's able to draw aggro to enemies, and you can taunt the statue to draw the aggro back to you. So you can place the statue in an area where mobs are spawning just to attract that aggro and then redirect it back to yourself. So these three classes in particular make one of the best trifectas when it comes to farming open world content in particular. But even farming like dungeons and raids, they have crazy good mobility. Two of those classes, Hunters and Druids, also have the ability to stealth past certain enemy encounters, and they're generally considered to be some of the better classes when it comes to just raw speed within certain endgame activities. Now, the final recommendation I have when it comes to picking a class for Legion Remix is you can always go the thematic route, and this one isn't all about endgame best in slot capabilities, but rather if you're looking to have a class that has the most amount of possibilities and unique things that they can get from this expansion of Legion Remix, I think a Demon Hunter would be the best option. Whether you're looking to prepare one for potentially playing a Devourer spec for Midnight, or if you just want to experience Demon Hunter to the full degree, Legion as an expansion was built around the class of Demon Hunter.
That's true.
So if you're someone who wants to experience the lore and thematic story components and basically the rest of the game and how it is laid out in the best way possible, I felt like Demon Hunters were the most catered to for this expansion in particular.
Yeah.
And there's a number of bonuses.
I hadn't really considered that. I mean, obviously, yeah, you have monks were the Pandaria remix, their Pandaria expansion class. So a lot of things are built around them. Death Knights were the Wrath of the Lich King one. So yeah, playing Demon Hunter and Legion, yeah, it makes sense.
They got
A lot of cool side quests and stuff to play through.
One of them being the ability to actually gain a sizable damage buff out in the open world with Shattered Souls. Normally, Shattered Souls, whether from normal enemies or non-demonic enemies, will just heal you for a portion of your health and generate you some resources.
That's right, there's a lot of demons.
Soul fragments that come from demons will also cause you to deal 20% increased damage for 15 seconds. Most recent expansions like War Within, as well as Shadowlands and Battle for Azeroth, and even Dragonflight, none of these expansions had a lot of demon enemies for you to benefit from for this Shattered Souls bonus. But Legion is filled with demons. Every other enemy in this expansion is of a demonic nature, which means you'll get a raw damage increase, a sizable one, fairly regularly throughout all of the content, which is a
Actually makes
massive
sense.
draw for this class in particular that no other class will have access to, which is a fairly sizable advantage for demon hunters for Legion Remix in particular. Also, if you're a big fan of story and lore and just being able to completely immerse yourself in a class, if those things really matter to you, this is the one expansion that put the most amount of content for demon hunters in particular. Like I said, for every other expansion, they're just another class. There's no special quest lines or anything like that, but this expansion in particular was the expansion that created the origins of the demon hunter with unique class quests and order home missions, and it felt like the world building of this expansion had demon hunters so closely tied into it that if you're somebody who really just want to really fully immerse yourself into the entire experience, I think the class of demon hunter is the best choice for that as well. Legion also gave demon hunters so
There's
many
some logic
different
there.
class sets to obtain, all of them being kind of samey, with them being very green, very fel infused, but I do feel like they were a little bit more thematic to the class compared to some of the later designs of class sets. Not every single one of them has been hit or miss. Some of them have been fantastic though, but not all of them have been what players really wanted, though in Legion I don't think a single one of those sets ever missed at any point. Generic sets definitely doing them any favor, but class specific sets were absolutely amazing. And even some of the gear that you wore in as a demon hunter in Legion actually fits them very, very differently. Like the chest piece here, that fits demon hunters differently than every other leather class. So certain armor pieces,
Really?
for
I
this
never noticed
expansion in
that.
particular, actually look different on a demon hunter compared to every other class in the game. So it was an actually unique experience
It's a nice looking
that they
chest.
had compared to other leather classes in comparison. So if you're looking to expand the collection of some edgelord armor sets, this will be the best expansion to play a demon hunter in particular. But with that
Be
being
a
said,
Shara
as
set on
always,
your
I do want
mail.
to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give the video a like, as I would very much appreciate it. Also, be sure to join our Discord community, especially if you want to keep up future content updates, like more updates regarding Legion Remix, but also potentially Midnight Alpha. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Yeah, nice video overall. Again, there's no pressure to pick anything in a remix event. I mean, that's just literally level up whatever you've always wanted to have in your arsenal of characters. But playing Demon Hunter, interesting point there. That yeah, there's a lot of demons in this expansion, so yeah, there's going to be a lot of damage boosts for you. Plus, playing something, like I said at the very beginning, something like a tank or a healer, if you don't have one of those, it's always good to have one, and maybe to give it a try. Overall, nice video from Dalaran.